Hello there, we are your hosts Vivek and Pavitra from the Agile Coach podcast. In this podcast, we bring fresh perspectives to you through our interviews with thought leaders in Agile coaching, facilitation, business analysis, and product management roles. Enjoy. Hey everybody, today we have a very special episode here with Joe Justice. I've been thinking about this podcast for a year. And we just met on LinkedIn. So I was just doing my intro, but Joe wanted me to actually record that. So Joe, my name is Vivek. I am living in Austin, Texas, originally from Nepal. And I was telling Joe about the community of 200,000 students that we have who have shown interest to learn agility and agile software development. I was sharing that half of them are in India and the other half all around the world. So my intention today is to really bring Joe's story about working with Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos' management team. When I was listening to your story, Joe, I was like, wow, I have so many questions for you. So this stays happening. And Joe, you are also CEO of WIKISPEED. Would love to hear about that. And you're also chairman of Agile Business Institute and are doing some amazing things in Agile hardware development, which I got to learn a little bit, and I'm really fascinated. So with that, Joe, why don't you introduce yourself further, what you've been up to, where you're at right now, and we'll kick it off.
Thank you so much. I'm glad we get to collaborate and both of our communities get to find each other. Maybe some people find new Agile friends and friends of any type. I'm Joe Justice. I currently teach online classes. Man, I didn't think I'd introduce myself that way. Many people consider me the founder of Agile hardware. Mm-hmm. And I like that description. I think that works pretty well. That describes a lot of what I've been up to. I founded a car company in 2006 called WIKISPEED. And we used Agile methods because that's all I knew. I wasn't intending to prove to the world that Agile hardware works. Simply, it's the only method I was skilled in. Yeah. And it did work. We set 4 world records. And I competed against Tesla at that time in 2010, and we actually won, which was amazing. That's while the Model S was being developed, it was called the White Star Project. And the Roadster was being delivered from Tesla at that time. Wow. We were making what was called the WIKISPEED SGT-01. And at that time, it won. Then ultimately, I became a Tesla employee. I consulted to Tesla in 2010. I set up the first Agile trainings there in 2016. And I became an employee and ran the Agile program in Tesla in 2020. In between, I was a developer at Microsoft and also led the Agile transformation for the Xbox group, hardware and software, Microsoft Xbox. Well, maybe led's too strong a word. I was part of a team. I did do a lot of it. I mean, I guess I could say led and that'd be legitimate, but that'd also be taking credit for a lot of the team's work. I was part of a team. Yeah. And I did a lot, but there was a team and they were great. Yeah. And did work with Amazon in 2016. Mm-hmm. I've currently consulted to all of the world's major car companies and all of the world's major aerospace companies. Yeah. I've either consulted to or trained or worked in all of those and all of the world's largest military defense contractors, whether that's something to be proud of or not, at least it's great high tech. And security is important, but man, I don't know. That's a mixed ethical bag. Currently, something I'm much more proud of, I still am CEO of WIKISPEED, and we make Tesla tuning parts. People who want the thrill of racing, like actual race capable, but some people want it just for the style. Bringing that to electric vehicles at a very affordable and very high performance level is a passion of mine. And so wikispeed.com has Tesla tuning parts available if you contact via the contacts button. The Model S Plaid and the Model 3 are the cars we've done so far. We just got a Model Y. We'll start tuning that next. Nice. Then I'm an advisor for Agile manufacturing for Cyberlander. Some people may or may not know. It's a armored, basically pop-up camper. So imagine an armored pop-up camper for the zombie apocalypse or climate change Armageddon for the Tesla Cybertruck. There's many other products in the portfolio, but the one furthest along in development and with many renders and some betas already visible is the Cyberlander. So an overlander for the Cybertruck. I'm really excited about it. Its idea is like a mobile office. You could put it in your driveway or your backyard or way out in the mountains or in the desert and have this like boutique luxury hotel room, office, love suite thing. It's really cool.
I'm so interested. I put my name down for the Cybertruck, so I definitely want to learn a lot. That's amazing, Joe. That you got, man, that is an exciting life you're living. You're just going after what you're passionate about, everything car agility, and you're also like teaching this class on agile hardware, and you're updating the class and rapidly innovating. That sounds amazing.
I think we're the largest online training provider for agility, at least in all of Asia. I think we've really hit success. So we start, I think my background works. We start with a foundations level class that happens to grant a certified Scrum Master credential. It's not like any certified Scrum Master course I've seen anywhere. It's basically step one of how to operate a company like Elon Musk. And it happens to grant a CSM.
Yes.
Then level two, we introduce finance and vendor collaboration. People might say vendor management, but I'd say collaboration is probably better for the way we're doing it. And also more on digital self-management and management automation.
Yeah.
And that grants the level 2 credential, CSPO. We do the technical certified Scrum developer as well, and an executive class. And then the ultimate is Agile for hardware, software, and business, the whole company. And it's what I learned working for Elon Musk. That's the most advanced agility I've ever seen. And I call that Joe DX, not to take credit, but actually to try to be humble. I want to call it the Musk model. I really do. That sounds good. It's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I understand everything Elon is doing. I think I got a lot of it. I think this is the best in the world online training to learn how Elon operates companies. But I don't think I can call it the Musk model. I think it's as much as I understand of it. And I think it's the best in the world.
I'm so excited to dig in. I'm so excited to dig in. So Joe, I'm excited to look at some of the content and really like maybe we can kind of go into what you learned working in Tesla. But let's just start with Joe. Like you've been an innovator and innovation consultant and worked with these amazing companies. So what is agility to you?
Agility is making change cheaper in time and money, and also in emotional willpower, like making it less draining or even more fun. That is the game. How Elon says pace of innovation is the only thing that matters in the long run. And that's working really well for Elon from a business perspective. Agility is that. How do you ramp innovation? Typically from a business perspective, but there's engineering supporting practices, vendor collaboration supporting practices, contract budgeting supporting practices. But the idea is, how do you take a company that's used to making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year budgets and help that company have a comfortable, easy, fun time pivoting today based on a supply chain crunch or a significant change in your supply chain or buyer taste or et cetera. How do you make that pivot take seconds instead of years? And that's what agility does really well.
Yeah. And so let's kind of contrast for folks who are have some background in Toyota lean model, and let's contrast that with you working at Tesla and really talking about agility. Like how would you help somebody who knows lean and then maybe they're kind of really taking maybe one of your class? How would you explain that in contrast?
Really lucky. I've visited and worked in and trained Toyota staff. So I've worked in Toyota, I've visited many Toyota sites, and then I've trained Daisuke Toyota, the slated to be upcoming CEO, and the supporting staff around Daisuke. And then also through the supply chain, Denso, et cetera. So I got to learn something about how Toyota really works. And then also collaborated with Nissan and Honda, and then worked at Tesla.
Yeah.
So here is a summary of impact, the result of the difference. Every car company in the world right now has what's called a minor model change cycle and a major model change cycle. And the minor model change cycle is for changing things like the headlight shape, the plastic bumper cover, the software on the navigation, maybe seat fabrics. That level is minor model change. That's typically every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
2.5 years on average. And the major model change is 5 to 7 years. That's when you get a dramatically different looking car potentially.
Yeah.
You get different power electronics, different electrical hardware, different shaped metal. Tesla does those levels of changes about every 2 days.
2 days? Wow.
Yeah, about every 2 days. That's agile compared to
like all these
traditional
models
management.
that are coming out there, even if it's just Model Y, even in 2022, like every car is like slightly different and like better.
Yeah, they're all potentially unique. In reality, there's batches that are similar, but they're all potentially unique. And by batches, I mean like a couple hundred, sometimes less, sometimes batches of 8, 9 that are nearly identical. The intention is for every single one to be an experiment to try to be better. And the business result is the cost to produce a Model 3, for example, the sedan, smaller sedan, from 2018 to 2023, 5 years, has dropped 30%. Wow. Whereas for a company like Seat, Skoda, Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, Mitsubishi, Ford, GM, the cost to make the cars has gone up. Supplier crunch, labor issues, etc. Because you have the same plan and you try to protect the plan. You try not to change it because change is expensive in a traditional mindset.
Yeah.
And then disruption increases the cost of your existing plan. Well, if you're able to respond quickly to change, what I'll call agile, reduce the cost to make change, then change is a cost advantage to you. So 100%. Tesla drops cost a little bit every day, a few pennies, a few dollars, a few yen, a few rupees, a few euro every day on price to produce the products because they're changing every day. And it's not only cost reduction. Safety goes up. The Model Y is tested again, the safest car for sale in Europe by the Europe testing authorities. And it's the best-selling car in Germany. So it supports the business as well, not only cost savings, but excitement, safety, joy of use, noise, vibration, harshness. Those are daily improvements. The headlights, taillights, charge port for the Model S and X, the large sedan and large SUV. So that's the shape of the headlights. And then if you think from a manufacturing perspective, the machines that make them and the molds that press them. And the lenses behind, and then the legal testing that for different markets, they shine in the correct area and the correct pattern, which is different depending where it's sold in the world. And the electronics that control those and the software that runs on those electronics and the charge port as well. Those changed in 2 days. That would be a minimum of a 2-year project for any other large automotive company on planet Earth. And that's a routine change in a Musk company. And I think that should, I hope, clarify what Agile is intended to do.
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, I now get it, what you mean by everything Elon is betting on is speed of innovation, like every 2 day. Wow, I did not know that. This is the bigger picture is critical path to space. What's driving this? From
a business perspective, Elon has the master plan. And it's not just Elon, but really Elon does drive it and is very vocal about it. And then everyone proposes a measurable metric that's an experiment to help the master plan come true. So Tesla's master plan is advanced sustainable energy for all of civilization. That's Tesla's mission.
Here so one of the out of here, right? Here and in Mars and just in the galaxy.
Yeah, for the expanding human civilization. The SpaceX is make humans multiplanetary. So it fits perfectly together. And Neuralink is keep pace with AI. Have humans keep pace with AI. They all collaborate towards maybe an exciting future. Like that, the master plan of those master plans is make the future exciting. Not like population drop and die off on one planet, which is less exciting than a starfaring civilization with Dogecoin auto training running on Neuralink in our brain, backed up by Starlink satellites in space that no one country owns. Wow, bizarre, but cool. So anyone can propose a KPI, a measurable goal towards that, like let's sell more electric cars or more electric cars in use, and then a higher percentage of newly manufactured cars being electric. And then total emissions reductions, also including ocean faring, freight, air travel, etc. Total, right?
Yeah.
So you have a KPI, it's like percent of transport that's electric, fully electric, no combustion. That's measurable.
Yeah.
And then percent of new car sales, so a piece of that, not even ocean going freight yet, but just car sales.
Yeah.
That's electric. And then what do we guess are the reasons that people choose a non-electric car when they do buy one? Well, one might be range anxiety. Okay, well, now we can propose a KPI that's, can we make the range go up without increasing price? So you have this cascading sequence of KPIs, which had no name when I worked in Tesla. I vainly named it in my online trainings. I call it the Justice Board. I did not invent it. And I say that in the class. I observed it in action. It already existed. It predated me joining the company. It had no name. I took it. And I think I improved on it in some meaningful ways. I think I added value. So I feel not totally worthless calling it the Justice Board. So it's this cascading chain of KPIs, and they change every day as people come up with new ideas and the AIs have new ideas. So that's the business value connection towards this vision that's basically set by Elon, but anyone can collaborate.
Wow. So a grand vision, and then these KPIs, and then how do they, like on the day-to-day team, how are the team organized? What's the self-organization technique there?
Yeah. The teams look at these boards. In Tesla, they had no names, but I will say the Justice Board is how I try to share it now.
Yeah.
And they look for which KPI has people that are recruiting. They think they benefit from having more people, and they walk over there. Now, part of what makes that so easy is the Musk companies are in-person only. Remote work is not allowed except by exception, which is extremely rarely given.
Yeah.
So it is an in-person company. All the Musk companies are. So you physically walk over, and the advantage there is you see people working, and by body language and simply by available space, you can see if there's room for you. Whether you're working on laptops or robots or unloading trucks, you can see, is there room? Just like an open space conference for anyone here who's ever attended an open space conference. So that's how you self-organize. There's no manager that says you're needed on this project. There are people with manager titles. They're typically volunteers. They don't necessarily make any more money, and who's in that role rotates multiple times a day. What they're signing up to do is take more accountability. If there's an accident, while they're the manager, they're the one that has to file the reports, grievances, etc., potentially go to court if it becomes a court issue. So that's we're proud and support people who step into that role. And then there is a role above that. It's not totally flat. It's just you don't have any authority. So maybe it is flat. There's a role above that called executive. And what that means is you take even more accountability, and you have to go to court for even bigger issues. Like if there's an explosion in the plant, the executive is going to be called into court if there's a court proceeding to say, what was the sequence of events that caused you to allow that to occur, right? So who is in that role? Again, rotates multiple times a day.
Yeah. Wow. So that is wild. So this is also equal pay, right? Equal pay, everybody, or similar?
I checked
no
myself.
Timesheets.
Yeah, no timesheets. Pay is essentially the same for everybody. Everyone makes right around $50,000 a year. I think it's 54,000 average. No matter what level of accountability you've currently signed up to take on. Weirdly, Tesla and SpaceX are the number 1 and number 2 choices for graduating engineers worldwide now. And it switches which one's number 1, which one's number 2. So these are the most desirable places to work. and they're not the highest paying.
Yeah, but with the stock options.
Yeah, I worked with many people who already had more than $1 million US because of stock.
Yeah. So, and everybody's betting on like the company doing better because the base pay, and everybody's so excited to work on these problems and they see the mission, right?
I think it's more the second one was my experience when I was working there. Now, also remember, I worked there in 2020 during COVID when we didn't really know what COVID was.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure if factories were allowed to run, and they had to shut down sometimes and open sometimes.
Yeah.
And so really the hardest core were the ones who were working. And interesting in Tesla, I think that was everybody. I don't think anyone stayed. Like it's a real mission focused culture. And there's not many emails at all. But one of the few emails that was sent out during that time at all was from Elon, and it was just about the mission only.
Wow. Joe, one thing I actually heard in one of the webinars I want to kind of go into, I want the audience to know about what is sleeping at the blocker or the bottleneck. What is Elon's technique of that? Just help shed some light on that.
An ideal leader
Yeah.
is an ideal contributor. That's Musk's philosophy, and it works super well. Because engineers, especially if they're not working for the best pay, want to feel they're not taken advantage of. And I think that's a fairly common human trait. I think most people want to feel they're not being taken advantage of. So Elon lives it visibly. Elon has a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And wherever the bottleneck is thought to be, Elon works there. He joins the group, and it's not like he tells people what to do or asks for reports. He tries to engineer.
Yeah.
And actually Elon's a very talented engineer. So Elon joins the software development group, the maintenance group, whatever they're doing. A lot of the time it's paint. Actually, paint is often the bottleneck, which is where I spent most of my time.
Wow.
And that's where Elon's sleeping bag was when I joined, was paint. And Elon works there 12 or more hours and then goes to sleep there.
Sleep in a sleeping bag.
Right there in a sleeping bag. Elon doesn't have a house anymore. He doesn't even own one.
Yeah.
And sleeps there. And everyone, and Elon models this, before leaving, I would typically leave between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. I get there between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m.
Yeah.
When you leave, or in Elon's case, when Elon just goes to sleep, whatever tool you're using, a laptop, a welder, whatever it is, you hand that to someone else. So the group work continues. They don't have to like log in, log out. They use the same one.
Yeah.
So that enforces like nothing's going to wait for you and you don't own anything. Like it is the mission. Like that's not your laptop. That's not your login. Like they're just going to keep coding or whatever it is. And then Elon goes to sleep, or I would go home. Yeah. I stayed really near in a Marriott Residence Inn, which is actually quite nice. Right by the plant. Yeah. And then when Elon wakes up, and when I come in, or when anyone comes in, they look at these boards, the Justice Board, to say, where do we guess the bottleneck is now? And then you go there if they're recruiting, right? Wow. If they think more people will help. So that's an ideal contributor. And that's what Elon does. Now, it's harder than that. As the executive, Elon spends most mornings in court because positive change, whether it's positive or not, but even if it's positive, positive change has constant attack against it because there are always some who benefit from not changing. So if you have an agile company, if you have a company that's embracing innovation, that is ramping innovation, you are under constant attack.
Yeah. So
Elon and then other executives, and then to a lesser extent managers, right, because they're signing up for responsibility, they're in court in the morning. And then after court, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., depending on the session, they try to do that early.
Yeah.
Then they're in the factory, typically until midnight.
Wow.
And then they go to sleep. And 7 days a week.
7 days a
week. That's the
wow.
schedule. Now, Elon does date some of the most beautiful people in the world. So there's that. I mean, it's not like there's nothing good or desirable or admirable going for Elon, but really that's about it.
Yeah.
Like Elon doesn't own a yacht, like none of that.
Wow. I'm just processing that. So, Joe, let's scale it back. You're teaching a lot of new aspiring product owners, scrum masters, leaders at the company that are going agile. So, what are some things that in our agile teams, scrum teams, what are some things that we can take and apply? Maybe we're not going to sleep in the factory. We just don't have that. But what can we learn? Yes.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
Oh, I love it. I'm working with a lot of companies where the owners of the company aren't Elon, and some of them don't know what this agile thing is, or some of them do, but don't want all of it. So people don't have permission to do all of it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty normal right now at this stage in business. In business's history. In another few months, maybe it'll be different. But right now, there's a lot of companies where not everyone has permission to do all of Agile. So what can they do? My background behind me is the introductory, the baby shoes of Agile, called Scrum. You definitely don't need to keep it, but it's very quick to learn and it gets you started. You can introduce a process improvement, process coach role, which maybe you call a scrum master or an agile coach. You can try to bring business authority back into the team that's doing the work. A lot of working groups have to ask for permission for budget or to change course and wait on a chain of approvals. The goal is to try to bring knowledge of the business value and authority to cancel, fund, or change the project into the team. So this person is ideally also helping build the thing. They're also a developer engineer. Ideally, that's not always true, but you try. And we call them the product owner. They have business authority into the team. And then typically companies have skills-based titles. Tester 1, tester 2, mechanical engineer 3, these kinds of things. Scrum does something really clever. It asks you to try to just call everyone who's doing the work the same title. Call them developer and say they're playing the developer role or they have the developer accountability. And that's super clever because it starts to make it easier for people to get a promotion by learning another skill. So if you're a tester 1 and you want to be tester 2 and the architect comes over and says, let's collaborate on architecting, you might be incented to say, no, I need to get to tester 2. Whereas if you're a more skilled developer, there's less boundary. Now, not every company can do this part yet, but that's really important. Now we've just hit 3. There's only 11 of these things. So Scrum's a pretty straightforward way to get started. There's only 11 rules and you can ask for permission. It's very well understood. It will not get you to what Elon's doing. There's no Scrum in the Musk companies. It's way too slow. It's an awesome way to get booed up. So for people that aren't necessarily allowed to sleep in the factory or want to, at the point of production, right? If you're a software company, that'd be right at your desk. But for the Musk companies, even if you're writing software, it's for the robots that are doing manufacturing or for the cars. So you still are in the factory. But if you're a software only company, maybe you can do it. This is a good introduction.
100%.
But you can skip this if you do something called mob development. If you actually follow the rules of mob development with a driver, a navigator, and a mobber, and then progress in levels to like the rear admiral, eventually the traffic cop, you get the advantages of an advanced certified Scrum Master, a certified Scrum professional Scrum Master. You get those in a very natural way while working. A common misconception is we need to add consultant agile experts that are not developing. Man, Elon would fire those people immediately. You got to work. You got to be part of the solution, right? And you got to be a force multiplier. You have to not only be really good because you know this agile stuff, you have to bring up the level of your whole working group because you know this agile stuff, or it has no business value.
Yeah.
So that's where
I'm
mob
curious
comes
in that one. So with all the things that you've shared, right? Like let's say a company has already done Scrum and they have the base foundational knowledge and they're Scrum Master and product owner.
Yeah.
With in regards to removing the bottleneck and becoming an actual contributor, where are you? Like, do you think like Scrum Masters and product owners should start working and contributing to the team? Where are you at?
Mob.
Yeah.
Mob solves for this. So the first 10 hours of Mob are probably just the developers with the Scrum Master joining and trying to be useful. Maybe your Scrum Master is already highly technical, but maybe they have zero technical skill. So when they're driver, people just tell them exactly what to do. If you can survive that embarrassment, and if the group builds a good sense of humor and psychological safety, so it's not embarrassing and actually feels good. If you can do that for 10 hours, then invite your business decision maker in. I'd call that the product owner, but whatever you want.
Yeah.
And have them join and try to survive that for another 90 hours, get to 100 hours.
Yeah.
And then try mob level 3. The reason I say mob level 2 is because by then you're introducing the rear admiral role, which is a very natural role for the product owner to be in. And they've got to play driver too. But when they're mobber, they can be rear admiral. And if you can survive that for 100 hours total and get to mob level 3, you are a high performing team of cross-functional people. And you've shared the knowledge of the Scrum Master, the mentoring, the training, the coaching. You shared the knowledge of the product owner, the business need, the contacts, the connections, who they have to ask for support. And you have team ownership, and you can delete Scrum. You don't need 353 anymore. It's gone. You don't need the 5 events. You don't need the 3 outputs. If you can survive mob for 100 hours in a happy way that people like. So it's also a human factors perspective.
Yo, that is so amazing. And I'm actually mad right now because the time is coming to an end and I have so many questions for you. But that's okay. We're gonna do part 2, and I definitely want to go into really doing a deep dive around mobbing, and I actually have a lot of other questions that I was genuinely excited about asking. So, but today you gave us a lot. This is a great intro. Thank you so much for this episode. I definitely learned a lot. Any last thing that you want to share with the audience before we come out with the part 2 of this episode?
What's your preferred way for people to contact you? And if someone offered to help you or give you something, what would you ask for?
My preferred is LinkedIn, LinkedIn Vivek Khattri, Khattri. And I am actually looking, I'm actually looking for part 2 of this episode from you. That is what I'm really intrigued. I'm very present and I actually have a lot of questions. But for the audience that you have, Joe, I actually have a course, online self-guided course. If they would just want to casually learn about the course, it's in the LinkedIn profile. So they can go and check that out.
Awesome. If you out there in the world, if you on the internet, you, the person who might be watching or listening to this, if you're intrigued by what Vivek's up to, working with hundreds of thousands of people, trying to increase their agility from wherever they are, whatever their constraints are, maybe you can support Vivek online, remote from wherever you are, or potentially even in person if you're around the Austin area or traveling through Austin, Texas, United States. LinkedIn. For me, I also love LinkedIn. I'm joe.a.justice on LinkedIn. I use Twitter even faster because it's short. So I'm the most active on Twitter, and I'm at Joe Justice on Twitter. But I also use Facebook. In Asia, Facebook is often used for business. So I use it for personal and business, as dangerous as that is. And if someone out there in the world wanted to help amplify what I'm doing, I'd love help editing down and making more concise my courses. So participating in one or more, taking recordings, parsing the recordings, and scripting to get the impact or even better in less words, less time. So we can knock time out and potentially add more value or have it consume even less of people's times. Currently, it's 2 6-hour days, and not everyone has 2 6-hour days. So I'd love help making that more concise and improving the translations of my book. My book, Scrum Master, is in 8 languages now. And they can always get better. So including English, if you're a copy editor or interested in flexing that skill, even if that's not your core skill, I would love that support, improving the books. Again, reducing the words, making them easier and more fun to read while still getting the point across.
Yeah. Joe, I picked up that book and I'm loving it. I'll definitely be able to help you contribute on that. And yeah, the second thing is the audience who's watching this, folks from the Udemy, if they want to do a deep dive and learn from somebody who's really good, a certified Scrum trainer, highly recommend Joe. This was a pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine. See you again.
All right, that's a wrap with this episode. Thank you for listening till the end. We hope these podcasts are providing value on your Agile journey. If you haven't visited our website, theagilecoach.com, we highly suggest you for other courses and supporting material on your journey. You can also get access to our self-paced courses or learn more about the live training that we provide to become a Scrum Master, Product Owner, Product Manager. With that, we will see you on the next episode. Love and best wishes from the Agile Coach.